One of the most famous women in the world has revealed that she's had both her breasts removed in a preemptive strike against cancer. And it's an agonising decision that many other women understand. The actress Angelina Jolie decided to have a double mastectomy because she had a gene mutation that doctors told her gave her an 87% chance of breast cancer. Her mother died of cancer at age 56. Thousands of Australians, men and women, carry the same gene mutation, and one young Sydney woman talked to 7:30's Adam Harvey about her own decision to have her breasts removed at just 25.
For as long as she can remember, Crystal Barter grew up in fear of what was to come.
My great-grandma was 68 when she died. My nan was diagnosed at 44 and again at 53, and my mum was only 36. So I grew up from a really young age knowing that there was just something different about my family.
You show Nanny coming down here, okay? Come on.
The birth of her second son was bittersweet.
It was a huge defining moment in my life when I looked at my baby and I just imagined my future, and it just had cancer written everywhere. About 8 to 10 months later, I booked in for my gene testing.
The testing was done here at Melbourne's Peter MacCallum Cancer Centre, where researchers screen families with a very high risk of breast cancer. They're looking for a fault in a gene called BRCA.
The BRCA1 and BRCA2 genes are genes that we all have. They're cancer protection genes, and if they're faulty or not working in some way, then that increases the risk of a woman developing breast and ovarian cancer.
For Crystal's risk, being a carrier of a genetic fault of a BRCA1 gene, her lifetime risk to the age of 90 is round about 80%. So it's about 5 times higher than a woman in the general population.
I just knew pretty much in that moment when they said, "We've got your test results, can you come in?" And I went in and my husband came with me and he just held my hand tight before we went in, and he stopped for a moment and he looked at me and he said, "You know you've got it, don't you?" And I said, "Yep." And we walked in and they said, "Crystal, you're BRCA1 positive, but you know your outcome's going to be completely different to that of your mum's." And I said, "How?"
This gene mutation has been haunting the family for generations. Crystal's grandmother Val felt guilty when her own daughter was diagnosed with breast cancer.
She just felt that she had given this gene to me, and then I felt I'd given it to my daughter, and it's just a roller coaster. We thought we'd never get off it.
Crystal decided she was going to get off the roller coaster. She had both her breasts removed.
It was November 2008. I was 25. I went in for my last high-risk screening for my mammogram, and they took me aside and said, "Crystal, we found changes in your breast tissue." They removed my nipple and they removed all the tissue. They tested some lymph nodes, came back clear, and then they put an implant in, and this is exactly the same procedure that Angelina Jolie would have had as well. They put an expander in and they pump it full of saline every 3 or so weeks until it gets to a good size that the skin is restretched, and then you go in and have your implants put in.
Is it painful?
Yeah, but at the same time I've had 2 babies. I thought, you know, the moment that I gave birth I could climb Mount Everest like that, because I just, you know, I did it, and it was a different kind of pain. I wasn't getting, you know, an award at the end of it or a beautiful baby, but I was getting a future.
Her mum and her grandma helped ease her concerns about what her body would look like.
My grandma lifted up her top and she said, "Your breasts are going to look completely different to mine." She had no breasts. She had indents, like you could see just the outline of her rib cage and massive scars. And my mum lifted up her top and it was even better. And then literally if you had all 3 of us, it would be like amazing. I went and had my skin checked the other day for a mole, and I had to take off my top, and the doctor was like, "Hey, wow, what have you had? They look amazing." And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome."
Medicare doesn't cover all women for genetic testing or preventative mastectomies.
The testing is concentrated in women who've got a family history that suggests a gene fault might be present, or women whose breast cancer or age of cancer or other features about herself and her tumour suggest that a breast cancer gene fault can be present.
Here she is! Boo!
Crystal's daughter, Bonnie, is 3. She'll find out if she carries the genetic fault when she's 18.
Oh, that was nice.
It gets me a bit emotional because I do worry about how do I explain this to her. I will never drag her in to have the gene test. That ball's in her court, and when and if she's ready, I will be there. But I never want her to think that she has to have it done, because it's her choice, it's her body, and I'll support her whatever decision she makes now or in the future.
Whoa!